from start to finish. And I'm going to take you through it step by step. And let me just move this camera down a little bit. But let's see here. Corey, can you turn down the volume? Yeah, just go to the volume. Anyways, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to make this quilt right here. And it is a half square triangle quilt. So this is an excellent quilt for people that are beginning. Has anyone made a half square triangle quilt yet? So I'm sure there's lots of people that have, but this is the quilt that I'm going to teach you guys how to make this week. And I have I have a form for you guys to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this piece of paper right here that you can print off to go ahead and print off this, and then take the pieces of fabric that you have to design how you want your half square triangle to look. Look, I have this falling apart. I actually taped mine with this right here so that I wouldn't lose these as I picked it up, but it's too funny that it's still moving around, but there's still a few random pieces. Okay, so what I decided to do for my quilt was to use a fat quarter bundle. So for those of you that aren't familiar with fat quarter bundles, I'm going to show you one. This is a fat quarter bundle of fabric, and it has lots of pieces of fabric in there, and usually it comes in a bundle where it's by a collection of fabric, maybe by a certain designer or something like that. Okay, hold on for just a moment. I'm gonna help my husband with something. Actually, Corey, why don't you switch that computer over to me, honey? Yeah, just transfer it over here, and then I'll get that. Is it because of the volume? Okay, let's see here. Oh, well, that's really kind of interesting. Hold on for 1 minute. We're gonna share this video to a couple other different places, and we're having a hard time figuring out the URL. Oh, here, let's do it this. I don't know. This is interesting. Okay, that's really intriguing. I can't figure out how to share this. That's interesting. Okay, let's go out of this. Boy, Corey, you're right. Okay, so we're having a problem with that. It's because I think the full screen is taken up. Corey, there's something wrong with the full screen. Okay, so let's get back to the quilt tutorial. I'm sorry you guys. No, it's okay. Let me just have that. I'll switch it in just a minute. Okay, a fat quarter of fabric is 18 inches by 22 inches. So it's a square of fabric is what a fat quarter is. And this cut really works pretty well with the type of quilt that we're going to do, because what we need out of the fabric is a 16-inch square. So we're going to cut a 16-inch square. So instead of having fabric that you might purchase a piece of fabric from the quilt store, the fat quarter bundles kind of work out great. But when you purchase a piece of fabric from the quilt store, it's going to be this length. And you'd have to get a cut that's about 18 inches wide. So depending on if you want different colors of fabric for each triangle, or if you want, but if you're a new quilter, seriously, if you just have fabric, go into your stash and use up all of your stash, okay? So pull into your stash and find some great fabrics that are easy to use. That is the most ideal solution, period. If you're a new quilter, you may want to pick up a fat quarter collection, because the fat quarter collection is just a random, it's an 18-inch by 22-inch square piece of fabric that will be easier for you to get a 16-inch square out of this. So let me see if I can help my husband real fast. That's really weird. You guys, it's taking up the whole screen. How do I get out of that? You know what? Take this down to Nick and see if he can fix that. Tell him that you need the URL. So, yeah. Anyways. Oh, here's the mouse. Here's the mouse. There's the mouse. Okay. So, anyways. So what I did is I decided to use, I really wanted some bright, happy fabrics for this quilt. In a modern way, what we're doing is we're going to do a color gradient across the quilt right here. And so you can see that I've put together I took off little pieces of squares off of the fabrics that I'm going to use. And then I'm actually then cutting them out. And I kind of, you know, I know this seems a little rudimentary, but I actually took out a piece of fabric that I didn't want. And then that way I didn't actually cut the fabric by a 16-inch square. And so this actually, I really appreciated doing this. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you guys have ever done this before. Usually I'll just cut things out and then just throw it up and see what I like, but who knows. Anyway, so if you want to, this is available on my website. It's in the link at the top of the post. As soon as we can get the URL, then I can go ahead and put a message thing on Facebook so that you can just write, yes, please, that you want the pattern. And then it will go ahead and it will send it to you, the right link in your messenger, so that then you won't be able to, you won't forget it, or won't forget where you saw this video on Facebook. So anyways, for Instagram, I don't have that. And for YouTube, I don't have that. But just so you know, and then that way you have the instructions to this. But this blog post is on my blog at stitchesquilting.com. It has the instructions, but really I'll walk you through it, but it has more detailed instructions. But for those of you that are experienced quilters, we're going to just take a 16-inch square, slice it in half, and then we are going to then put our squares together. So we went over what a fat quarter is. We went over if you were actually working with yardage, that you would want to get a 1/2 yard piece of fabric. You could actually get two squares, 16-inch squares out of a 1/2 yard of fabric. And that would give you 4 triangles if you wanted to do. Hi, Amber. Hi, everybody. Hi, Gail. Hi, everybody. In fact, tell me where you guys are. I always love seeing where you guys are. So that's what we're going to do for this quilt. Now, I wanted to show you a couple things. So this is what my little fat quarter bundle looked like. So I'll just fold this back down real quickly for you. And my fat quarter bundle used to have ribbon around it, but then I untied it and I sorted my fat quarters into colors by pinks, by yellows and oranges. I mean, whatever your fat quarter does. Also, the fat quarter bundle I selected was this Lori Holt Be Basics fabric because it was just bright and happy. And most of the fabrics in this collection are all equally weighted, which means they're all a very small print like this. And the small print is very similar. So you can see that that small print is very similar. So I would go with either all large prints, all small prints, all something. But with this type of quilt design, it does look maybe a little bit better if you have all either large prints that are large florals, or you have more smaller prints that go together. I don't know, does anybody have any suggestions in that about picking fabric for this type of quilt, a 1/2 square triangle quilt, where you're trying to go for a color gradient? Really anything, any fabric is gonna be gorgeous. So whatever you have, I would just go for it. Okay, so I broke these up into different sets by colors. I went ahead on my little fat quarter and I cut a small triangle off of the fat quarter to then do my little diagram that went right here. So I know which ones I'm actually going to cut and which ones I'm not. I decided not to cut that particular fabric right there. Okay, so we've got all these fat quarters. I have them sorted. I have them arranged. And we're going to get them into 16-inch squares. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So what we're going to do this week is we are actually going to make an entire quilt from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to give you the lessons to make the entire quilt in 1 week. So what we're going to do today is that was just a little bit of advice on selecting your fabrics. But then what we're going to do is, yes, you can definitely get your own fat quarters or your own yardage. You can get your own fat quarters from any stores out there. But yeah, love to mix the solids with the gradients. Amber, great advice. So yes, mixing some solids in there is really a great advice. So if, say, for example, you just don't have a really good, yeah, you could go with all solid fabrics. I mean, period. I mean, you could do anything. This is your first quilt, or maybe not your first quilt, but maybe it's a quilt that you're starting back up after years, but you're going to go ahead and get it going. So, so that was just a little bit of advice on the fabric, because I don't want you guys going out and buying too much fabric, you know? So I'm going to stack up my little fat quarters right here. I'm going to put them over to the side, and I'm actually going to press my fat quarter because the fat quarter is actually, it's folded as we talked about earlier. Let me turn that on. And since it has all these folds in here, it's a little bit trickier to get a good accurate cut whenever you're cutting your fat quarter. So I just wanted to review that real quickly. And I'm going to press this over here. I know with my silly little easy press, but I'm going to press it with the Cricut Easy Press. I could grab the iron. It's right over there. But I'm going to just I'm doing this on a design board. So I'm going to go ahead and press this real quickly because I wanted you guys to see this part. Now, do you guys have any questions? The pattern will be sent to you as soon as I can get the Facebook URL. I actually got a new thing to communicate with all of you guys, and I'm excited that I can just send you the pattern and the instructions through Facebook or through whatever medium. But I will put the link in Instagram. I need to change the URL link to my website. So I'm just rubbing this around with a Cricut Easy Press. It's been really cute to see the comments. We've been getting comments from all around the world, you guys. I mean, everywhere. It's been really a lot of fun. Like Illinois, I mean, oh my gosh, the places that we're getting people visiting from, it's been so amazing. I can't believe how we're just like a community of quilters online. But holy cow, these videos have gone like viral. So anyways, I've got this rather pressed, but some people have said that they don't think I should be selling too many things, which I'm not trying to sell this. You'd have to buy it from Cricut anyways. But okay, I pressed that. So it's a bit flatter. I was just using a design board there. There's Iowa. There's lots of different places. Okay, so the pattern is on my website, and so what you're going to download today is the outline for this, and then tomorrow you'll actually download the actual pattern because it has the instructions in there. All right, so I'm going to take this piece of fabric, and the fabric is 18 inches by 22 inches is the size of a fat quarter. I like buying things in fat quarters. Is anyone else a fat quarter collector? Or do you avoid fat quarters? I don't know. Everybody's different. Making a quilt is on your bucket list. Well, Margaret, you can get this done. So I've changed the screen so you can see what I'm doing here as I'm cutting. You will need a rotary cutting blade. And I try to keep the prices really low on the Stitches Quilting website. So if you're ordering one online, but you can go to Joann's and get one with a sale. You can download the Joann's app on your cell phone, and then you can have coupons in there. Okay, so if you need a rotary cutting blade, I would recommend doing something like that. And but do get a rotary cutting blade. You will need a rotary cutting self-healing mat. So just a rotary cutting mat. Any kind will work. And although I saw Christopher Thompson is on here, and he's got some new mats that are out that I have not seen yet. So I'll have to do that. So you love fat quarters. I agree. It kind of does like a scrappy quilt thing. You're right. Okay, so I've got this laid out on my mat, and I'm actually going to count. So I've got my 16 inches square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Because I do not have my mat board laid out so that the numbers are going the right direction. Isn't that funny? Okay, I'm laying my ruler down right here, and then I'm using my rotary blade. I prefer this rotary blade because I can lock the blade coming out or not coming out. I can just do a little lock there. And for me, with young kids in the house, it was just kind of easier for me to have more peace of mind. So, but now my kids aren't so young. They definitely learned that this wasn't something to touch. Okay, so now my fat quarter is in 2 pieces. I have this 16-inch length right here, and I have this shorter piece. So I'm going to save this piece because I love fabric, and we always use all of our scraps. I'm hoping for this quilt that you can actually use some of your own scraps for this and get some fabrics that you've had for a long time that you've been hoarding. I promise you, I think that you will really enjoy this quilt. The half square triangle quilts are wonderful. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Sometimes I count because I want to have confidence that I'm absolutely accurate. I know that's pathetic. Okay, so I'm cutting off this small piece of fabric here. You can see that right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that one off. It's about 2 inches. This is from the 18-inch width. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, all of you guys. It's so fun to see you guys. New York. Hi, I'm from Ohio. You've never quilted before. I promise you that this will work out. So I'm trying to teach you guys how to cut this fabric. I can also show you how to cut the fabric from if you're actually having it on a large piece of fabric. But this is cutting it from the fat quarter. So you can see now I have changed my square, my fat quarter piece of fabric now to a 16-inch square. So you see, we're going to be sewing together. Look at that with my size of my head. We're going to be sewing together large blocks. It's going to go fast. I'm serious. You guys, this is a quilt I could probably make in a matter of hours, okay, if I really wanted to go crazy fast. Now, I'm going to take this square of fabric and I'm going to put it on the diagonal, and I'm going to cut from point to point so that now this square will turn into 2 triangles. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. So does anybody have any questions? Because if you have questions, then I can go ahead and answer them now. We'll do another video tomorrow on this same quilt, and we'll get this quilt finished this week. At least I will. I know what I will for sure. And then next week we'll work on something new. Okay, so now I have 2 triangles, half square triangles, which means it has a 90-degree angle over here, and then it just triangles out. Oh, you're gonna catch a flight, Tiffany, too fun. So anyways, this one 16-inch square of fabric gave me 2 half square triangles. So on your quilt that you're diagramming out, I'm being a little fussy because, well, I own a quilt store. So if you want to, you can actually buy this fat quarter bundle online on my website. And I do ship all around the world. We've got someone here from the I'm so excited about this quilt. I know this is just too fun, but I'm really excited about this quilt. So I want a different piece of fabric in every single one of these triangles. Yes, honey. Yes. My husband's sharing the video to different places. Isn't he so sweet? I've got the best husband in the world. The quilt, how big will the quilt be once it's done? This quilt will be 60 inches by 60 inches. So I don't want this quilt to be too big. So don't start thinking that you want a twin size quilt or a queen size quilt or a king size quilt. We want a quilt that's going to be manageable because you're going to actually learn how to quilt this on your domestic sewing machine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to cut this fabric. We're going to sew these squares together this week, and then I'm going to teach you how to layer the quilt and then how to quilt it through your domestic sewing machine at home. All right, so even if you maybe can't quilt this right now, these are good videos to save because you're going to learn some really good basic skills, and then I'm also going to teach you the binding. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing this week. So it should be pretty good, but the final size should be approximately 60 inches by 60 inches. It always depends. But right now, today, you can go to the website. You're going to get basic instructions for the quilt on the website, but you're going to be able to download this sheet of paper. Tomorrow, I'll actually have the pattern available to download. But this sheet of paper is what you're going to download today, and I want you to get your quilt all laid out. I'm glad you're super excited. I'm glad people are super excited. It's really a lot of fun. Quilting has been such a very good, safe place for me in my life. And it's been just an incredible hobby to be able to do with my family and with friends and with lots of other people. And Corey, were you able to put the URL in the mini chat? Okay. All right. So if you guys are putting yes in there, it might be sending you a message soon. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut another one of these fat quarters for you because I have 2 of my squares. Oh, so let me go back to this. So I was saying that I'm going to have a different triangle in every single one of these triangle spots. When you cut this quilt, if you're working with a fat quarter bundle, you're actually going to get 2 fat quarters out of each one. So there are 32 pieces, there are 32 triangles in this quilt, which means that if you wanted 2 of the same, like this, you would only need 16 pieces of fabric or fat quarters for this, okay? So if you're going through your stuff, that's what your 16-inch squares will give you 2 triangles. Does that make sense? And then you can use both of those triangles on the fat quarter, but I'm going to set one aside because I'm actually going to make another quilt and have 2 of these and give one as a gift. And then one for me. So I'm actually going to use 32 different fabrics, and that's just because I own a fabric store and I can be a little crazy like that, right? It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do, but I have designed mine with 32 different fabrics. Okay, so let's get to the next fabric. I'm going to find this one right here of the other red. So let's grab that, and I'm going to show you once again how to cut this fat quarter. So I hope that makes sense in terms of the math of the quilt, which one thing I love to do, so the extra pieces that I had from cutting out that 16-inch square was this piece and this piece from the fat quarter. Does that make sense? So that's why a fat quarter, this is kind of a fat quarter friendly quilt. Okay, so I'm going to set that down. We're going to use our next piece of fabric, which is underneath the design board. I'm actually using a design board to press on. This is something you can make at home. You just use a piece of foam core with some felt, and we're going to lay down that fat quarter. Now, how big is a piece of fat quarter? Hi, Brenda. Hi, you guys. It's so fun to see everybody. But how big is a fat quarter? Can anyone tell me in a message? It is 18 inches by 22 inches. That's a good question. What fabric are you going to use for the binding? I could do a scrappy binding. Let's see here. Is this 2 inches? I could do a scrappy binding with all of these. I could select a just a solid print that's one of my favorites from the quilt for the binding. And then you will need some backing fabric too. So thank you, Jackie. A fat quarter is 18 by 22 inches. Very good. So, but you will need some backing fabric, but sometimes I haven't decided on what backing fabric to use yet on my quilt. And and then the binding, I don't know, but you can't plan that out. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit lazy because I do have a quilt store here and I can pick it out spontaneously. But I might go with more of a red, I think, on this quilt because I just love the bright colors that are popping. So each one of your quilts are going to be more unique. And I would say you might want like probably half a yard or a third of a yard for your binding. I will figure out the math of that and get that message to all of you guys. Okay, so I went ahead and I pressed this other fat quarter. I wanted to save that because I wanted you guys to know that you need to press these fat quarters. Even though this is a fat quarter friendly quilt, you do need to press your fat quarters. Okay, this time I'm actually going to line mine up on the line that has the 16 on there, because really what I should be doing is working with this grid where it's the 0 point and 0 point here, and then it grows longer. So this mat, but now I know I've got this at the 16-inch line, so I'm going to cut at the 32-inch line with my ruler because, and let me just move that over a little bit longer. Oh, let me move this down so you guys can see me cut. Let's move this down. There we go. Okay, so you guys can see me cut. So let's go ahead and move this over. We're going to use the rotary blade, and we're going to use the long ruler. I'm using a longer ruler. I'll turn it around this way, and I'm using a rotary mat, and I'm cutting the fabric. What's important about quilting is that you're precise with your cutting. So you're precise with your cutting so that when it pieces together, everything matches. So that's my extra piece of fabric from that fat quarter. And I'm going to spin this around. I'm going to bud this up onto the grid. And then I'm going to cut it again so that it is a 16-inch square. So don't, for this, I would not try to cut this with your scissors. I would definitely get a rotary blade, but remember, when you go to Joann's or when you go to places, you know, even Walmart, they price match. And just get the best price that you can for a rotary blade, and it doesn't have to be self-locking at all. Or use a friend's mat to cut, or a rotary blade, but you do want to accurately have this cut. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I am going to measure, I'm going to now measure this ruler from point to point on the diagonal of this square. Okay, so we're going to cut the fabric from point to point of the square, from one point over to the other, so that we've got two triangles. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Does anybody have questions? I'm trying to see if there's things that I'm not carrying good. Do I carry that in my store? I love the Cricut iron. No, I don't carry the Cricut iron in my store. If you want to purchase the Cricut iron, you can purchase it from a like Joann's, Michael's, or Walmart might have it, or you can go to Cricut.com and purchase it there. But it's not necessary. You really can use a regular iron. I'm afraid I'm going to flop the iron over when I am ironing and maybe burn something. Actually, I did burn a quilt the other day when doing a video. I thought that the iron was down. Okay, so there we are. I now have, that was very simple cutting. So you can see that this type of cutting is very easy. Let me straighten this out just a little bit more. But you can see that that cutting was very simple. And we've got just like some great triangles here. But remember, I've got two triangles of each of these. But I'm going to set some aside because I'm once again going to use a different fabric for each one and make an extra quilt. Because this quilt I really want to use. I'm really excited about this quilt. Now, once you're going to cut out your 32 triangles. And you're going to cut out these 32 triangles for this quilt the way that you designed it, because this is your quilt and this is going to be your design. So it's going to be the way you want it. So the next thing that you're going to do after that is you're going to stitch these together. So let me go ahead and show you that. When you stitch together, we talked about last week with the other videos that you want to use a neutral thread. So you want to use a thread depending on what kind of fabrics you're working with. You want to use a white, a gray, a cream, something like that. Okay, when I'm dealing with all of these colors right here, I'm going to actually select a gray thread for me. But while I'm stitching, I'm not going to be using any of these threads. I am going to be actually using navy blue on one side and lime green on the other, so you can see my stitching lines, okay? So, I just published a video that is 12 hacks every quilter should know, and I just published it on Facebook, on my website, and all of those kind of things, and it goes through some basic things that you want to do. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is measure your 1/4 inch seam accurately. We talked about this a little bit last week, but I'm going to move my sewing machine over now. Whoop! Poor Instagram. Got to move you guys over too. Okay, so there we go. I think we've got it. Everyone can see the sewing machine. So what I'm going to do here, let me bring you guys over. How do I do that, Corey? Well, let me see here. Oh, here, this is a little bit better. Yes, let's leave it like that. There's the sewing machine, guys. I measured with my ruler. Hold on, let me grab this from over here. It's kind of hard to just have like a small workspace. that you're just on film for the camera. But I've got this other smaller ruler. I can use this bigger one. But I put it up next to my foot on my sewing machine. So some of you guys have a sewing machine, and you need to figure out what is your 1/4 inch seam. So everything pieced together with quilting is typically with a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to put my ruler right up next to my, you can see, okay, good, Robin, thank you. I'm going to put it right up next to my foot, and I'm going to figure out where my 1/4 inch seam is on my sewing machine. Then I put a piece of blue tape, a blue painter's tape next to that. So not everyone may have a 1/4 inch foot on their sewing machine, but you can purchase a 1/4 inch foot, but you can also just mark it with painter's tape. So let's not make ourselves go broke, right? So you watched, Carrie, you watched that video earlier today. Great video. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was really fun to kind of make that that video. But I put 12, there's actually 13 quilting hacks. Well, there's more than that in the video. Let me find my presser foot, or my foot to press the gas on the sewing machine. That's what I always say. But it is a good video. And it really gives you some basic little things. And it gives you basic ideas that don't cost a lot of money. Okay? So if we want to start out. Okay, dang it. I started stitching without telling you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew these triangles along this edge. All right? So, and the points are over here, the 90-degree angles, and we're going to sew these right along here. If you want to, you can pin. And I'm sorry. Okay, let me pull this back off. Okay, I'll show you where I started. Oh, it's probably good to see a little start. Okay, so I started right here. You guys can see. So I started right there in the very triangle of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you how to pin. So you're going to pin perpendicular to your fabric. So like that. That's not very perpendicular. About a 90-degree angle. You can pin other ways, but you're going to want to make sure you pull out your pins before you get there. And I just find pinning like this is easier for me to actually pull those pins out. You can use any kind of pins. Just don't get fussy about anything. We're having fun here. We do spend money on our fabric. But you know what? The nice thing about quilts and gifts like this, if you do make two, but who knows, is that, you know, these kind of gifts last forever. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start stitching right here. And I'm going to stitch all the way the length of those two triangles, because we're going to make it back into a square, right? Yes, washi tape removes easily. So if you don't want to use painter's tape and have some really cute washi tape, put some washi tape on your sewing machine. Very good suggestion. I love it. I so appreciate everybody's tips. And you guys, we've got very experienced quilters out there. And please, you quilters, please share lots of great tips with the beginning new quilters, because I think it's a lot of fun. Because it's not just me teaching, it's us teaching as a community. And really, we're an international community. I'm so surprised at how huge that this has gotten. But oh my goodness, some of my videos have gotten up to, I don't know, Corey, how many have the live videos gotten up to? Views of, you know, 20,000 people, and we're talking all around the world. What were some countries, Corey? Malaysia, Austria, South Africa, New Zealand, United Kingdom, the United States. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't believe. If anybody wants to do a split screen, we can always do a split screen too on Instagram or Facebook. So I have no problem sharing the screen with people, okay guys? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna stitch this together. I'm talking so it's not stitching nearly as fast. I showed in the video how to chain piece, so you can even chain piece all of these triangles together. They're pretty big though. See, it's easy to sew something when it's nice big pieces. This will go together extremely fast for you, okay? So, what you're gonna do is we've got these two done. Okay, so what I want you to do, if you can tonight, so what your assignment is to, well, here's our two triangles together. So that's the first square that I designed for my quilt. let me get back my reference sheet, was right up here in the corner, all right? So that's just what I designed. Now you're designing your own quilt and your own thing. So you can find this at stitchesquilting.com, and the name of this quilt is Easy Modern Half Square Triangle, okay? Because I just think it's like an easy modern large half square triangle quilt. It's just very simple. And you can take this with any kind of fabric. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press this. So I am actually going to make, how many of these? 4 by 4? I'm going to make 16 of these. Did you see how fast that went? I'm going to make 16 of these squares, and then I'm going to sew them together. So, but before I do that, I want you guys to work on today to actually go ahead and print off your sheet of paper, or you don't have to print off the sheet of paper, just do a grid and graph paper, all right? Just scribble on a piece of regular paper and see if you want to even color it with different colored pencils or markers or crayons or anything like that. And get your quilt designed, start looking for some fabric that you want to use and that really sings to you, all right? Because you really want something that is wonderful for you. Okay, I'm gonna lay this design board down, and I'm actually going to press this. So the first thing that I'm gonna do when we press, this is kind of in that video, but it was hard to put this in the video with the quilt hacks, the 12 quilt hacks, is you want to set your seams. I mean, this is ideal, right? No, masking tape is great. Use masking tape on your sewing machine. Masking tape is great. So we're gonna just make sure that this Cricut Easy Press is turned on. And what I'm doing is I'm actually setting the seam that I just stitched into the fabric. So we're kind of making this seam become one with the fabric. So it's not really poking out anymore. Okay, so that's something that quilters do, is you want your fabrics to be as flat as possible, all right? Or your blocks. The goal is flat, right? I don't know. That's the goal for quilters. Now, I'm now going to press on the back side of this block, okay? So let me see what someone said right here. I always draw mine out first, especially if I'm doing applique workout. Oh, I love applique. We're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to come on and screen share with me and maybe teach applique. It would be fun. So, okay, so now I'm going to press this on the back side of this quilt. And I'm going to press my flap over because we're pressing over to the dark side, but these are both red pieces of fabric, so it really doesn't matter. But we typically press over to the dark side. We could press these seams open, but it's not really necessary. The time when you press seams open, typically for quilters, is when you have got a lot of bulk and you've got a really dense. I'm trying to think if I've got a block I've stitched open. I could find you one. I could show you one tomorrow. Okay, so I went ahead and I pressed that over the seam allowance to one side of the fabric. So that's usually what we do in quilting. I'm going to lay this back down, and I'm going to go ahead and press on the top side. Another thing with pressing is we're really going with an up and down movement versus pressing really hard back and forth. Does that make sense? I'm going to show you some fabric. Oh, I hope I can find a good piece to show you. But this is a piece of fabric, and you can see it's cotton fabric, but look at the stretch in there. Look at the stretch in there. So cotton fabric actually has a stretch to it. So you want to be careful when you're pressing that you do press, Carolyn, you do press your seams open. Good for you. Yeah, if you don't mind spending the time, it's great. But you can press your seams open. Okay, so, but I'm trying not to smush it around and reshape the fabric, mutate the shape of the fabric. So it's no longer a triangle, it's maybe I don't know, a hexagon or something. Anyways, that would be crazy. But so when you're pressing, you don't want to press it where you're mutating the shape of the fabric. So let me go ahead and hold this up now. You can see that's pretty much a perfect square, I think. I mean, it looks pretty good. Anyways, okay, last little thing that we're going to do here is, so what you guys are going to do, and what I'm going to do, is you're going to go and you're going to design your half square triangle. So let me hold this up again for you. You're doing 16. There's 4 squares by 4 rows. So there's 16 there. If you cut that in half, it's 32, okay? So what you want to do is go ahead and pick out and design your fabric, all right? If you work with a fat quarter, you might have an easier time. And let's go ahead and, oh my gosh, these are nasty scissors. Why do I have nasty scissors sitting right there? Now, the thing I just did is I trimmed off my little flaps on the edge, the points. There was these little points over here. I should have said that. There was like little point of the triangle, and I just trimmed them off. Okay, so it's just a good square. All right, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and get all of your squares pieced and cut them into the triangle. So cut them out and sew them together like this. Lay them out and get your design right so that you feel really good about it. Tomorrow, we're gonna sew our rows together. So in one row across. So we're gonna sew it across like this. And then sew each one of these 4 rows. And then I'm gonna teach you how to join the rows together tomorrow. But I will show you how to join one triangle set to another triangle set, which you'll just match it up from seam to seam and stitch right across there. So that is today's assignment. Get your fabrics picked out, and remember, you don't have to do it today, okay? You can watch these videos over and over. This stays permanently on Facebook. It is permanently on YouTube, and the Instagram will be up for 24 hours, but you can find these videos back on my blog. So at stitchesquilting.com, and there will be, the videos will be embedded into the blog post, so you have the full instructions right there. So don't worry about getting it all done today or getting it all done tomorrow or whatever. This is just to give you some basic instructions to see a quilt go together from start to finish within a week so that you can understand the concept of how it works. All right, so tomorrow we'll do another live video. I'm going to have all of these made and put together for you. I'm going to join them together into rows and then show you how to join those rows together so that your points match up right together at the very center. So that's what I'm going to show you guys tomorrow, okay? So go ahead and think about that, and I'll be anxious to see you guys. Do put yes in the Facebook one, and I will automatically message you the pattern for the link that will take you to the pattern. And tomorrow I'll have the full-blown pattern to download, more than just this sheet of paper, but the pattern is on the website, okay? So we will talk to you guys a little bit later. I'm excited. I can't wait to see all of our quilts. So when you start getting ideas for fabric, post those ideas on my site, because I'm anxious to see what fabrics that you're gonna put together to go ahead and do that. And I can't wait to see everybody's quilts too. So love you guys tons. I'm so excited about the project we're doing this week. So a quilt from start to finish. So that's what we'll be doing. And I'll be anxious to see how everybody does. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on the other side. So remember, it's Let's Make a Quilt Week, and it was day 1. So thanks a lot, you guys. You guys have a good day, and we will see you tomorrow.